Daniel.
Hello, Regan. How are you?
Good. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Yeah, no, going well. How are you? You good?
Yes, I'm doing great. Good to
Enjoying
see
the
you again.
rain?
Yes, I have been. The dog, not so much.
No, I
I,
know. Go a bit stir crazy, don't they? In
yeah,
the rain.
yeah, she needs a lot of exercise, and
Yeah,
so I tried to take her out last night, and she had a look into the rain, and was like, she likes to run, but not that much.
yeah. I've seen your dog. Oh, yeah, it's quite an energetic dog, that's for
Oh
sure.
yeah, she's a
Yeah.
beauty. She's a beauty. Uh, okay, so this is step two of
Step
your
two.
first
Yes,
milestone.
yes, yes.
So what I imagine we're going to do is effectively just refine the message. I assume you've been working on just cutting things down, making it clearer, perhaps using visual imagery. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been trying to do that. I've struggled a little bit in some parts of it to cut it down because I've been finding that the information that's there, if I take it out, perhaps it won't tell the story.
Sure.
So you'll notice a few I've cut and a few I just not cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
just
So completely fine. This
yeah,
is really the challenge of information transfer,
yeah, yes,
right? And a really good lesson I got during my PhD was
yes,
that ultimately you were trying to tell a story.
mm,
Now, that story is supposed to be reflection of reality based on data,
yeah,
based on, the cross correlation of many data points across many different research labs, etc. But ultimately, it's a story. And stories can be incredibly simple. Like if you look at some of our oldest stories, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, The
yeah,
Three Little Pigs, um, the story of Adam and Eve, right? Sometimes these stories are just a couple of lines long. And yet they tell an incredibly
yeah,
rich
yeah,
story because the human mind fills in a lot.
100%.
So right now you're in the process of dumping a lot of ideas down, and that's really good. It's helpful to have all the ideas down. But what we can do, and this is where visual imagery comes in, you take all that information, and good, that's for you. And then you just sort of you try to construct the story separately. What are you trying to tell? Use, you know,
Mm,
punctuation effectively to just tell the core parts of the story. And then, should I or another person wish to inquire more deeply about some element of it, then you can say, well, yes, here's the data.
yeah,
Here's
yeah,
the references. Here's the background, right? So this is what you're going through makes complete sense, right?
yeah.
You're trying to dump everything. There's so much information, but
My head.
ultimately it's going to be distilled to its absolute core elements,
Mm,
which you're going to be able to communicate really clearly,
mm,
right? Um, and it's like, if someone passes you in the elevator and it's like, what do you do? You're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
well, I do X, Y, Z. You don't tell them all the history of, alchemy and all your time spent, globe trotting, etc. You have a story. You have this little
yeah,
punctuated
yeah,
little story that you can tell. And then if
yeah.
someone says, oh, cool, tell me more about your, um, what do you call it when you're horseback riding? The
Yeah, yeah, jackarooing. Yeah,
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 yeah. And you
yeah,
can be like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
well, all right. How much time have you got?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so that's
Yes.
that's the trick. That's the
Yeah, okay. I
skill.
get that. I get that. So I guess what I'm imagining is like a shop front and a busy street,
Yep.
maybe downtown New York or something.
Yep.
And people walking past and they see my shop front and they go, "Oh shit, I want to come in and check that out." And then
Yes.
it opens up to this array of you know, furnishings and books and fucking
Yeah.
blah blah
Yeah,
blah. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, a
Exactly.
whole run. Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to, yeah, I get that. That will be that will be a challenge. However, I like the discipline of that refinement
Yeah.
because it's kind of ironic because where we're at the moment, there's a lot for me to learn, and I'm thinking that as you as I learn more, my ability to focus on what's a key message or story will become better. So I'm kind of, trying to create something
Yes.
that I'm not quite I'm not ready to do yet, but I understand where we need to get to. So,
Yeah.
um, so from so I would assume then there's not an expectation that I have that 30-second grab
No, not at all. Not at all.
next week.
I mean, if you think about it, we've already, in the space of this little period, we've touched on quite a number of big topics. So there's
Awesome.
you and your life generally, and then there's the philosophy and practice and science and art of alchemy, and then there's this gateway method stuff, and you've been looking into natural law.
Natural law now.
Right.
Fuck.
Yeah. So all of these things are could fill a library, every
Yeah.
single one of
Yeah.
them. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so the trick is to just you sort of like put some bait out of just like this tiny
Yeah.
little thing. Like for
Yeah.
instance, when you met me, you didn't know any of this stuff about me. I was talking about only the things that punctuated for you
Yeah.
the elements you needed to hear, which
Yeah.
then invites that sort of next conversation, that magnification of a new avenue, right? Because we've talked about everything from life to
Yeah.
business to relationships,
Yeah.
etc. But we started with that little seed, that little kernel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to find out what are the kernels of information that
Mhm.
invite the most, they're like psychologically seductive.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
think about it, this
Yeah.
exact process
Yeah.
is alchemy. You're distilling, right? You're refining, you're trying to get the gold nugget out
Yeah.
of all of this
Yeah.
stuff, all of this lead.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that context, with that full understanding that this is not going to be a perfect thing, it is the process of refinement,
Yeah.
right? Why don't you show me what you got? I'll ask you some questions, keeping in mind that I do have a meeting on the half hour, so
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We'll
I do
keep.
have a half hard deadline.
So can you?
Would you like? Oh, you didn't submit to me. Ah, Daniel.
Oh, that's what happened. Oh shit! Because I've just had it on. Yeah. Sorry. I've just
Okay.
had it on that Google Sheets,
Yep.
and then I just assumed that was enough, but I
Yes,
didn't.
but remember, weren't we going to you were going to create a new
Yes.
document,
Thousand
and
percent.
that way we have snapshots by date,
Yeah.
and that will be really important looking back, so we can
Yeah.
clearly see the
Yeah.
process of refinement. So send me what you got. Just put it
Yeah.
in the chat here. I'll share it. We'll go through it
Okay.
that way.
So can you see? Oh, can you see a screen now?
No,
Okay. Okay. Share screen. Can you see one now?
no. Would you like to send me the link to the document? I'm
Yeah.
happy to share it if
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
easier. And so
Um,
after this, definitely go ahead and make a.
yeah. I'll upload it. I'll upload it in um chat.
So is this a new document?
Yes. Yes. I got
Okay.
that bit right.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Good.
So what I'm doing is, and we may change this, but my logic at the minute for naming is whatever date I present it.
Yep. That's fine.
So you'll see um, in the heading it's called um, 20 November.
Yeah. I would start with go reverse date. So go 2024 November 20 or 2024 11 20.
Oh yeah,
That way you'll just be able to see a list of documents in order by date.
oh
And
yeah. So
that
it orders better when you put the year first, does it?
yeah, year
Ah,
first, then month, then
yeah.
date.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Cool.
All right, let me share this.
Yeah. Um,
Apps.
from when we talked last time, we were talking about the importance of including symbols
Yep,
as as a way of perhaps telling the story more succinctly.
yep.
So I just grabbed a couple this morning and put them
Okay.
in. So
Yep.
that's an alcohol. That this snake,
The
I'm assuming,
Ouroboros.
yeah. Oh, you know it. There you go.
Of
All right.
course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you'd know that. Yeah, because it's an ancient that's an ancient symbol where the snake consumes itself.
Right.
Um,
So
but I
is
like.
this
Hmm?
the story of your self-transformation? It's a You're just
Yeah, I think
devouring
so.
yourself.
I like that concept because in order to create something new, something has to go. Like, and I guess the consumption then, I like the idea of consuming as a source, so you have like the source of energy or the source of whatever, then I'm that source, so I'm creating my own energy
Yep. Yeah.
that, by that as well. And I like this one because it's got a tree in the middle of it.
Yep.
And of course, I love that, so as above, so as below, or
Hmm.
as is above, so is below. I really like that concept of a tree. And being an agricultural guy, I thought, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll get that.
All right. All right.
Okay, so
So
that's that.
there is an alchemical reference to the phoenix. The phoenix is very much the self-transformation because there's that combustion and death and rebirth. That's the archetypal transformation, self-transformation story.
Yeah.
So perhaps that would be a more appropriate symbol. The Ouroboros, I get your reasoning. It may not be bang on, but
Mm.
but
Yeah, yeah,
the phoenix-like process definitely is
yeah.
a big
Good
part of
call. Yeah, okay.
it.
I'll
Right.
give that some more thought. So this hasn't changed much. This is just about why use alchemy for transformation. But
Okay,
I
hang
guess,
on. What I want to do here is you're detached from this. I want you to tell me a story. Now, I know you've told this story last week, but it's like this is your story. And I think getting into the habit of telling
oh,
the story,
okay.
not just reporting about the story,
Oh,
right?
about facts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So now
yeah. Okay,
I don't
got
want
you.
to nitpick here, but I
No,
think
no,
setting the frame is
it's
really good.
no, no.
And
Nothing
there's
you
a
say I take as nitpicking, Regan.
right, right.
This is I'm just trying to get in the groove of it,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
you open the conversation up with this is a story. So it's
Yep.
all you're doing is being consistent with what you're saying. So yeah, I get that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And let me
thank
just
you.
explain a little bit more why. Because alchemy as a scientific study is about centering the experience, right? It is the science of experience in some ways. So science has, to some degree, as a discipline, it has taken experience out of the equation.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's so scientists often are talking about the data, about the story, right? And that is fine. There's a time and place for that kind of thing, being a little bit separated from it, fine. But two things. This is your story, and this is
yeah,
an alchemical process. So, to some degree, if you can be in it, this is your story. So, why am I using alchemy? Why am I using this model? And because here is where I am, here is what I'm doing, here's the story I'm telling. Not, well, this is alchemy, and this is what it's about, and
yeah.
this is what the story is about. Do
Yeah,
you see the
yeah, got
difference?
it. Yes, I do. I do. And that's really good. And that makes a lot of sense. And that'll have more meaning and that'll have more relevance to the whole process,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this is about my transformation. It's not about,
correct.
necessarily my understanding of alchemy or whatever. This is, yeah, I get that.
Exactly.
That's good.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'll
Okay.
give you a little bit more run, but I think that's a good frame. Let's go.
All right. Um, so I guess, why am I using it for self study? I like, my story is about a number of uh, fires and a number of risings. So my story is not just one thing. It's a series of fires which I've transformed, and I've got to the stage now where I still feel there's more transformation. There's more left in the tank, and I want to get that out of the tank. I want to use that fuel to put me in a better place, but and then help others get in a better place.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So why alchemy specifically?
I like the history. I like how it's been encased in our psyche for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's not some new age thing, fad. It's not a fad, in my opinion, given the longevity of it. And the fact that it's still relevant today is also testament to the value of it and the relevance of it. So I guess it's using something that is so robust that it's stood the test of time, and the change of society and the change. There's been so many changes. So I guess that's and I like the discipline. I like the structure of alchemy. Um, yeah, and I just like that whole concept of transformation, of taking something of a value and turning it into something of a higher value.
Great.
And I
Okay,
like that.
wonderful. Thank you. So go ahead and touch on the main
Yeah.
points
So
here.
I think given what you've said, Regan, these again are more representation of academia, not a representation of my story. So what I will need to do on the next iteration is change these into my story. So what it means for my personal growth. So I've just got personal growth. That's in a generic sense. It's not in a specific sense. So I need
Sure.
to turn this around. So I don't think we need. I don't know how you feel, but I don't think there'll be much value in spending time here for that
Well,
reason.
I'm not so sure. I think
Yeah.
you're correct in its presentation. The presentation you have is very academic. However, I do want you to go through the academic process of
Sure, sure,
collating
sure.
the resources and understanding each of these things um, as a concept and where it's come from and why it's present, but then turn the philosopher's stone into something that's personally meaningful. So,
Ah,
for
yes,
instance, the
yes.
philosopher's stone was what the alchemists were trying to produce in their experiments. The philosopher's stone represents something like eternal life or the ability to turn lead into gold. Like you could use this stone, and it was the thing that allowed that transformation. It's like a catalyst, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah,
of the outcomes of the Philosopher's Stone is the elixir of life, right?
yeah,
And the
yeah.
elixir could be something that means it gives you passion, it gives you purpose, it gives you
Mm,
direction and focus. It's something that ignites the fire, it heals you because you care, right? Then, the Hermetic principles,
yep,
as above, so below, as
yep.
within, so without, right? All of the, there's seven core Hermetic principles. These have direct relationship to all of us because they span the all dimensions of reality, right? The creation of a homunculus. This is the clarification of who you need to become, right? It's the little
Yep.
man, it's the new creation of what you're becoming. So what you've done here is, I think, correct. It's just not fully refined yet,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yep.
So the refinement process would be, okay, how does the philosopher's stone show up in your life? What is that catalyst, that thing you're trying to produce, right? Same with the
Yeah.
elixir.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
so it's good. I think you've gone the right step. Now it's about making it into
Yeah.
that story that ignites the passion, right?
Yep. Got
So
you. Got
great
you.
stuff.
Okay. Cool.
Okay,
And I would say the same about this. So
exactly.
that's the same. So there was historical uses, and then these are modern uses. So, so these ones, these modern uses would probably be a little bit more relevant for me today.
Sure.
Knowing where they came from is good. That
Exactly.
historical
Exactly.
thing,
Yeah.
and I get that. And then I'll use these as probably the current to give them some currency, I guess.
Yeah. So if you're standing on that New York street corner, as you were talking about
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
beginning, and you're talking about alchemy and philosopher's stones, then you're like that, that priest who's preaching the Bible and people are just kind of like steering away. Whereas if you're talking about things that a modern person can
yeah,
hear and understand, like creation or coaching or therapy or personal development, this is the language of the modern person, right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
ideas are ancient, right? The archetypal symbols, the Ouroboros, the Phoenix, the Philosopher's Stone, these are ancient, ancient. But we have now this modern language tool set that we can use.
We
And so
talk about,
that's,
yeah,
I think,
yeah,
where
yeah,
you're
yeah,
at here. Yep.
yep,
So
yep. I get that.
fantastic. All right, I'm happy to keep moving.
So these ones are more about. These are a little bit more personal. These ones. So I guess for me, it's about, as you mentioned earlier, about the different um, schools of thought or study that we're bringing together in this process. Then I guess this is just about how do I do that? So how do I use Gateway in an alchemical framework? Um, and the hero's journey as well. I think there's a lot of value in tracking the hero's journey as well, um, the process. And then there's some more pragmatic things there around experimental framework, um, that's repeatable. That actually generates or actually transforms or leads me to a transformative or through a transformative process, and that is repeatable. So I guess they're the key elements for me about defining the focus is about
Yeah.
the my transformation, and then the ability then, as I mentioned last week, about our ability then to be able to repeat it
Yeah.
to help other people
Correct. So
witness.
if you think about this kind of story as a funnel, we've gone from alchemy in the abstract and its symbols and its archetypes to its historical context, then to its modern day context, and now sort of the tip of the spear is you.
Yeah, yeah,
What are you going to do specifically,
yeah, yeah,
right? What are your actions? How are they going to be repeated? What do they look like, etc., right? And
yeah,
then we're sort of like going into this point, and the point is you or your consciousness, and then we're coming back out again, and that is, well, how do we repeat it for others? How do we
yeah.
explain it? How do we then integrate it back into that historical and modern
Yeah.
context? So that's kind of
Excellent.
the flow.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I've just added that second last dot point there about epigenetics.
Yep.
I'm not sure about that yet. It came up, it popped up in my mind when we had um, our Thursday night session last week,
Hmm.
or it might have been the session before that. It popped into my head about epigenetics. We were talking about it, or you mentioned epigenetics, um, and then I just think there's that given the nature of our knowledge now in terms of how genes get expressed. I just wondered then if we're talking about transformation, then and how we can influence transformation, then I'm thinking that perhaps there might be some opportunities to that or some gold in there, like around we understand now some of the pathways for gene expression, and then if there's some correlation between that and a transformative process, then we can then influence. There might be some environmental issues that we can influence that then have a gene expression issue, which then lead to a transformative position. That's my logic at the minute, and that's
I think it's a great idea. I think it's certainly something that it might come towards a later part once we
yeah,
have a good understanding of the transformation you're going through.
yeah, that's
A friend of mine, actually, a parent at my son's school, she's a nutrigenomist, right? Which
a
is really interesting.
nutrigenomist.
Yeah, so she does
Oh,
like genetic sequencing of the gut and the gut bacteria and looks at the relationship between diet, gut flora, and then sort of behavioral expression. Really, really
yeah,
interesting stuff.
that is fascinating.
She's here. She studies at the University of Queensland Gatton campus.
Yeah,
And she's doing, I think she's done a master's, maybe looking to do a PhD, or she's in a research lab there. Anyways,
yeah, wow,
I think you're on the right track there. That I think as we go through this
yeah,
transformation process, we should see different genetic markers being
yeah.
expressed or downregulated depending on what environments we put ourselves in, which
That's the
means
thing. Yeah,
the hero's journey, you put yourself through this transformation process, you put yourself in different environments, you should literally become a different person. You should grow into that hero. And so this alchemical gold that is within our genetics can be expressed,
yeah.
right? So I think it's a great idea. Great
Yeah, all
idea.
right. So yeah, just so for the interest of just capturing it, I'll leave it in there, and then
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
we'll pick it up
Yep.
later on. It'll probably drop out now.
Yep. We'll just have to skip through. Like,
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
you to just say a couple words on each slide, keeping yourself centered in the frame.
yep. Okay.
But we just have to move
Yeah,
quickly.
no, you're right. Ah, see that?
Yes, there it is, the
No,
Phoenix.
there it is.
Yeah. You got it. Nailed it.
Yeah, because I think you're right. I rather like this one,
Yep.
and I like this. I like this representation of the phoenix, given
Yep.
that there's the circle,
Yep.
which is infinity, and then there's flowers growing from and they're hippeastrums, I think, or no, not hippeastrum. They're a lily, and
Okay.
they have significance in my life, lilies. Anyway, so the goals. So I guess fundamentally it's about deeper understanding of the core principles and laws around those pillars, I guess we call them.
Yeah.
So, alchemy, gateway, hero's journey, natural law, whatever else we decide become the pillars of the structure.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
gaining a first person experience. So
yeah,
actually
first,
doing it.
yes, yes. So I guess deeper understanding, and then how I relate to those. So for me, it's about get the understanding, and then I can then relate myself to that understanding,
Yep.
and then produce whatever it is in terms of how I sit relative to those different pillars.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
so that's what all that means. Yeah.
Yep.
And then yeah, that's just a straight methodology. So it's
Yep. Okay.
refine,
So not
research.
finalized, but you're going to decide on a thesis topic and something to get started. I think that's
Oh
more
yeah,
important than finalize. It's really just
yeah.
decide and start,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it'll
And
refine. Yeah, no, I get that. Good.
so it'll
And
be a
yeah, so that's
bootstrapping. It'll be a
pretty
oh,
standard.
hang on. Oops. It'll be a bootstrapping process, just defining and deciding
Yeah,
as you go.
and so
Yep.
this has the same. I guess this one though, I have added in some of this how it relates to me. So that the third dot point of each one is about me. So
Yep.
um,
Excellent.
so this is about so the first bit is about the negative aspects of me.
Yeah.
The next bit is about the experimental work.
Yep.
Um, Then the third one is about it's just examining, then critically analysing that which I discover in the whitening, and then finally, and then I gauge the process, the
Yep.
behaviour.
Although I
Um,
would say, so you said in the reddening, this is where you're engaging in the transmutative behaviors. I would say that actually occurs in the whitening. So the blackening is, okay, yep, it's like the fear journaling, right? You're gonna dump down all the things that you feel need to die and go away from you,
yeah,
right? The dead
yeah,
wood of your character. But then the whitening is sort of this is where you are defining who you want to be, right? And beginning the work, right? Transmuting those negative behaviors into a positive version of those behaviors, right?
yeah.
And the yellow one, yes, that's you critically analyze, you refine, you calibrate. And then the reddening, this is the integration. This is where it's like these are now
Oh,
deeply
okay.
part of your character. It's who you
So
are.
it's integration. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Good. Get that.
Um, cool. So
And then
you're
yeah,
going
that's just
to
tracking
track.
progress. That's
Yep.
pretty straightforward stuff.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's about
I'd like to see some specific things for the experimental work you're going to do, like the what are you going to track, etc.
yeah, and yeah, I need to figure that out. Yeah,
Okay.
and that challenges that's pretty much the same as last week. The
Okay.
challenges I haven't revised that. Um,
Okay. What I'm
yep.
going to
So
do is
that's
we'll have to leave it
yep.
there because that's 29 minutes. So in the
Yeah, no,
last
you're right, mate. All good.
here's what I need from you. Can you
Yep.
please do submit to me
Yeah.
a copy of this? You can do it in
Yep.
PDF or something so that we have snapshots for posterity as we
Yep.
go forward. Let's meet again in 1 week
One
with a
week. Yep.
further refinement. I think we keep meeting on a week by week basis
Yeah.
until you feel like you've got a clear path forward to start taking action on a project that you care about that is self-work.
Yes.
And then we
100%.
can increase the frequency, sorry, like decrease the frequency
Yeah.
so that it's like, okay, you're going to go away for 2 weeks or 4 weeks and you're going to
Yep.
work. And then you're going to come and the next snapshot will be a little bit further apart so that we can actually start to see
Yep.
those changes. Okay. So one
Awesome.
more week at least, and let's do submit that to me so that we've got those.
Okay, I'll do that straight away, and then I'll copy
Perfect.
and then start again. Okay.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Anything else?
No, mate, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome. Great to
Take
see the
care, buddy.
changes.
Thanks, mate.